Does anybody care? Does anybody care? Does anybody care? What's care? Can any of you tell me what the word care means? That's another question of the day. What does care mean? Is there such thing as care? Does anybody care about anybody but themselves? And maybe someone close to them in their family? And maybe their best friend to the end? Do they care about anybody else? Do they care about anybody else? That's what I'd like to know. But who am I? Who am I? And so my other question of the day, upon careful introspection, careful introspection, for basically your own protection. For your own protection is this more than obvious kiss of bliss. And so I'm really interested in how you're going to answer this question upon careful introspection. Is God the one and only? Is God the one and only God Almighty who created the heavens and the earth and the entire universe and all the ugly, smugly, and fugly souls and even the few good ones? Is that God who created all that and this and this and that? Is God the one and only? Is God in the forgiveness business, or is he in the you reap what you sow business? Is God in the forgiveness business, or is he in the you reap what you sow business? In other words, are all those words in the Bible, in the Menorah Torah, in the Iran Quran, and all the rest of those so-called spiritual, non-lyrical, but definitely clerical books out of the library, all full of more than any scary theory? Scary theory. Scary theory. In other words, has there ever been a more evil, despicable, deplorable, immortal, and horrible book, hook or by crook, written by the smitten, than any of those books that say in every single solitary one of them, it says, God is in the forgiveness of business. God is in the forgiveness of business. And so, you, all my undears and unclears, and even you dears and clears that care, you can rape, you can pillage, you can murder for the thrill and all the kill. And God will forgive you for all of those ugly, smugly, and down wrong, fugglier than any fugly sins. And so that's the question of the day. The question upon careful introspection is, do you really think God is in the forgiveness business, as it says in chapter 1 in all those books, hook or by crook? Or on page 2 in all those books, hook or by crook, it says, God is in the you reap what you sow business. In other words, if you kill for the thrill, and even for the till, and some even for just the chills, then that ills is going to come back to haunt you when you go back home. When you go back home. Because the truth is, or is it the Ruth? A truth plus a right is what I call a Ruth. The Ruth is, God is in the you reap what you sow business. Because that's a moral statement without debatement. And you cannot quarrel with a moral. You cannot quarrel with a moral. In God, the one and only God Almighty, that created the heavens and the earth and the entire universe. His number one quote for your vote of confidence, not confidence, is you cannot quarrel with a moral. And so the truth is, my dears and undears and clears and unclears, God, who is not a fraud, does not love all his children the same. More than obviously. More than obviously. More than obviously. Why would Michael Jordan be born with a beautiful waist, a beautiful face, and every other space and place, and making millions and millions of dollars playing a game? Woo! That anybody would play for free, for fun, if they had food, clothing, and shelter. And he could have any honey that he wants. And if he's not in the ego, the envy, the jealousy, the unfriendly, he has a girlfriend to the end that he loves. All sent from the dove of love from above. Because, my dears, and also my undears and unclears, all those gifts and rifts that Michael Jordan has in this lifetime, just like Tiger Woods and Naomi Campbell, all of those peoples, none of them creeples, in their last 11 lifetimes, they all passed their 111-year at best test of 95% or one and only, 95% in the IE, 95% in the one and only, in the one and only smart, in the one and only heart. And so that's the miracle mark. If you do not hit 95% in the one and only smart, in the one and only heart, then you miss the miracle mark. And so your next time back down to the undear and unclear, down here, planet Earth, you'll come back with an uglier face, an uglier waist than every other space and place.